Hi, everybody. It's Laura from Hyperstamper, and it's getting a little late, so this will be the last one I post tonight. And we are down to the last 3 of the 10 I'm posting this week on Etsy of my antique junk journals. So this one is really my favorite of the 10 because this is my favorite color, first of all. And this book here, it fell apart it's from the late 1800s. It's a French book, and you can tell by the marbled, and you can see the beautiful gold in there as well. And because it crumbled and the corners were leather and the spine here, I'm almost certain that's leather. I can feel the suede here. I decided to mount it on top of another book. It's too small to be a journal. So I thought this was the perfect color. I'd been waiting to find a vintage book this color. Oops, I think somebody just bought one. Sorry. And I found these keys in my collection that I had rusted a long time ago, and they were absolutely the browns, taupes, and this teal color of the book. So it was meant to be. So let's take a little journey inside this one here. I just used some ribbon and cotton to tie it closed. And the book itself is called Hotel by Arthur Haley. It's not super old. It's a vintage book, but not terribly old. And I've kept in the original pages so you can see when it was published in 65. These are a little vintage paper doll outfit. This one here is a little Western outfit. And I made this pocket here out of a book page, Heroic Life, a 1920s music sheet, a 1970s store receipt mounted on top of this vintage atlas page. And I made this pocket here out of a vintage encyclopedia page and the word dreams mounted on top of an inside spine, signature spine. And this is a really fun little stereoscope photograph from 1898. And it's a fellow who is milking a cow and feeding the kitten with a little girl on top. And it's the double image that would have been used like a Viewmaster type contraption. And I just tucked back in here this little back pocket, a 1946 piece of ledger page for you to journal on. And over here we've got some of these receipts, Pearl Shop receipt here from the 1950s from Cincinnati, Ohio. And this lovely poem, My Aunt's Bonnet. Isn't that beautiful? And so there's some space to journal in there too. And do read the poems and the recipes and things in here because they're just so much fun. Another one of these ledger pages, 1929. And I love the numbering in the corners. And this hilarious vintage recipe book full color page. And I kept the spiral spine there, markings, because they're fun. This is from a very, very old book, From Storm to Sunshine. And just an antique book page here that was blank, so a vintage book page. I stuck that in there for you to journal on an antique book page pocket and an antique piece of music sheet here. And you can do some painting here or add your own art pieces. The flip side of that pocket here is just a little booklet I made out of antique papers, tea-dyed paper, and a sewing pattern piece. A little cluster made out of antique paper, and I hand stamped the tea-dyed paper. All the other papers beside the tea-dyed ones and the handmade papers are all authentic, antique, and vintage ephemera. No fakes, no digitals. 1930s music sheet. Oh, this is lovely. This is from the 1940s. And look at this, how this comes out here. Now, somebody would have stuck in a little note there or maybe some money. It's a gift from all of us to you. Isn't that sweet? And the funny thing is, it was never written on. So this was, it's still got the original glitter too. Isn't that awesome? And to have a ribbon on it. Over the moon, over the moon. And I used this vintage sewing pattern pouch here and put in some 1926 ledger paper for you to journal on. I try to give you as much journaling space as possible, but also the opportunity to add your own artwork and your own wonderful things. 1920s Mother Goose page here, Frog and a Mouse. And there's the top of the sewing pattern pouch. And in here I slipped in a ballroom dancing book page on the waltz, the natural spin turn. You can try it at home. And I love the little ruler on the back of this pattern pouch. And I put more of the pattern pouch up here, and that's on that encyclopedia page. This is not vintage, but I tea-dyed it and added it just for more journal space. Little cards there for you to add your own sentiments and thoughts to, and it's actually really good paper if you want to paint on it. Okay, so that is going on top of that 1930s music sheet, a little vintage US postage stamp down here. And on the flip side, I have this beautiful French postcard. It is in northern Canada, in Quebec, and that would be from the 1930s. And just yesterday and today. Isn't that perfect for an antique journal? Some crochet bits here and some book spine. Another vintage stamp up here and some of my hand stamping. I made this crochet pocket here. I didn't make it, it's very old. But this is the cover of the Saturday Evening Post. It's a very funny one from August 1959. And if I can get it open, I would love to show you the full picture of the fellow in the boat. He's not doing well, and she is having the time of her life. Isn't that wonderful? So that goes in here. And that is called The Feather Falls. That's from Freckles from 1904, that book. And this wonderful 1893 book page from Demerset's magazine. And there we go. And that is tucked in behind a pocket made out of an late 1800s book page. More ledger paper from the 20s. And this is a beautiful image from a book on horses, a magazine on horses. And the sepia tones in this are to die for. Look at that lovely page on the flip side. Isn't that pretty? There's a canasta score sheet here. And a 1940s theater arts magazine. And the advertisements in there are wonderful. This is a wildflower infused handmade paper. And again, more of this wonderful 1920s counting ledger paper. And a book from a page from a children's book, Gateways to Bookland. Oh, I should have kept this one for a Halloween book, but that's more to come on that. A yearbook page from the 50s. And this here is from a 1930s decorator book called The Blue Book on Interior Design. And this is a family room. And again, it looks more modern than the 30s, but that's what this book was all about, was really modern interior design. So I thought these were fabulous. And I only had 10, so they are going in this week's journals on Etsy. There's the flip side of that yearbook page and more of that children's book, Robin Hood. And we ended off with more of this natural paper. And this was just the inside of the book, and it was so pretty, the color, that I just added a little more room there to journal on. And I found in one of my books, the end. And that is the end. So visit etsy.com/shop/hyperstamper to see this and dozens more of my handmade journals. And don't forget to subscribe so you can be one of the first to get them before they go away. Bye for now.